Evening all. Are you going to say hello? Oh, no.
no.
He's trying to be creepy and mysterious because we're doing Psycho 2.
Dos.
It's a retro review coming at you this evening.
Made in the same year, the year after you were born.
Was it?
1983.
There you go. Made after the year I was born.
It's 22 years later. Norman Bates is coming home. And he's back in business. Psycho 2.
It's the first time I watched this movie. I'm kind of sad to say because I should have watched it a long time ago. This movie is amazing. It's rare that a movie so fantastic and classic as Psycho would get a sequel that is even remotely good, let alone fantastic. But this movie is genuinely good and has a very good pedigree behind it. It's directed by Australia's very own Richard Franklin, who made Road Games.
The best Australian movie, in my opinion.
And it is written by Tom Holland, who also penned our second favourite vampire movie of all time, which we just saw at the cinemas again the other day, Fright Night.
For real.
And stars Anthony Perkins once again in the titular role of Norman Bates, set 22 years after the original Psycho. This movie explores Norman getting out of the institution. He's set free, he's done his time, and he's learning to get back into normal society. And things happen. This movie is really, really good. It also stars Vera Miles, who was in the original Psycho.
She was Marion's sister.
Yep. And Lila Crane.
But she's now Lila Loomis.
Lila Loomis.
And who was the hunk in the original Psycho was Sam.
Sam Loomis. Who we have found out has since died.
It's like
in between
she
movies.
literally just says, he's dead.
Doesn't seem to particularly care that her husband has died, which suggests that perhaps they didn't have the happiest marriage. But, he was kind of having an affair with her sister, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but then they fall in love and get married after Psycho.
Yeah, but, once a cheater, always a cheater. Oh. So, who knows. But Meg Tilly is also in the movie.
Mary, isn't she?
Mary, yes. She plays a waitress who works at the diner where Norman gets a job after he's let out of the institution. And he...
short order cook. No, he's a sort of kitchen hand.
Kitchen hand, yeah.
For a short order cook.
Yeah. And he gets a job at this diner because the... I don't know if she's the owner or co-owner of the... I think she's the owner of the diner.
No, the guy's the owner of the diner and she works there as well. Like, there's Mrs. Poole.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the guy's name. Like, they basically, they have the diner and Norman goes there to work because he gets let out because he's not insane anymore.
Yeah.
Is the whole thing. And he's got his doctor...
played by Robert Loggia.
Who's...
Wonderful character.
Brilliant actor. He basically takes Norman under his wing after he lets him out, and he's actually looking after him. He's actually a really good doctor. You don't really see these doctors portrayed in a great way, but he's really great. And so he gets Norman a job like a halfway sort of house job sort of thing at the diner, but he gets to go back to the Bates Motel.
The Bates Motel, because he still owns it and he still owns the motel. It's his home, and he decides he wants to go back to it.
Yeah, and it's run by a guy whose
Yes.
name is Warren Toomey,
Yes,
played by
Dennis Franz.
who is one of my favourite character actors.
Yeah.
We just watched a lot of De Palma
He
lately.
often plays a cop or
Sleazy bastard.
some kind of sleazy bastard, and he's a sleazy bastard again in this movie.
And he
Plays
happens to
the
be
hotel
named
manager.
friggin' Warren. Why is his name Warren?
And a lot's changed in the Bates Motel over the years. It's not
Clean.
it's not a
The linens are, but nothing else is.
yes. In the time that Norman's been away, Warren has kind of turned it into a bit of a off the road sleazy.
A fucking suck hotel.
Pretty much, yeah. As he explains to Norman, the patrons come, they pay their money, they stay for a couple of hours, and they leave.
That's literally a line.
Yeah. And Norman is not too happy about this.
Because, Norman was a prude.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a very good boy. Remember, as mother says.
Yeah.
He's a very good boy.
Very good boy.
Yeah,
And a boy's best friend is his mother.
that's right. So Warren gets fired
Immediately.
pretty quickly.
Hmm.
And Norman decides he's going to fix up the hotel and make it a worthwhile endeavour, a money earner. So he quits working at the diner pretty quickly. But before he quits working at the diner, he befriends Mary.
She's having boy problems.
Yes, her boyfriend has broken up with her and has found a new girlfriend, so she's got nowhere to live. So Norman, being the lovely gentleman that he is, offers her a place to stay first at the motel. But when he gets to the motel, he finds that it's full of drugs and
Prophylactics and cigarettes.
and syringes and dangerous things like that. And it's not a safe place for Mary, so he offers Mary a room in his house instead.
In his room, actually. It's not specifically said, it's not pointed out, but his room is opposite Mother's.
Yeah.
And he goes and sleeps on the couch.
Yeah, so it's pretty clear it's his room because he's got nowhere else. He's not going to sleep in Mother's room, so he has nowhere to sleep but the couch.
For all Norman's psychosis in the first film, he is a genuinely lovely man.
And that is the fascinating thing about this movie. It's touched upon a little bit in the original Psycho, but very much so in this movie, in that Norman is a tortured soul and
Gentle.
But he is at heart a very gentle person and a very, very nice man. He's just been ruined by his mother.
And I would say his
abused.
His greatest downfall is the women in his life.
Yeah.
No matter what film in the series, and you haven't seen 3 and 4, but no matter what film in the series, it's we all know that Hitchcock was could be considered a misogynist.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he was. I think he actually was quite an advocate for women because every film had a very strong woman in it. Every film. Like they might have been the one manipulating the strings, or they might have been the one coming into her own, like Tippi Hedren in The Birds. She's the lead. Rod Taylor's not the lead in that film.
Yeah, you can be both though. I mean, Joss Whedon was a champion of females as well, and he turned out to be a pig. So
I've got no.
A lot of stuff has been said about Hitchcock over.
But I've got no skin in the game. I don't know enough about him to have an opinion. I mean, like
actresses who've been in his films have had a lot of opinions of him over the years.
I mean, he might have been a low man, but he definitely.
He made a lot of good movies.
He knew how to make movies. He's like Spielberg.
Yeah.
That's the only comparable director is Spielberg, because they know mean, Spielberg knows how to tell a story with visuals. Like he can tell a story with nothing.
Yeah.
But Hitchcock knew how to make you just feel so much for people.
Yeah.
Where there's in Psycho, you should hate Norman.
Yeah.
You should not like him
Yeah.
at all. But you
you
end
do.
up
You feel
loving
sorry
Norman.
for him.
Well,
Yeah.
I love Norman. I think he's a tragic hero.
Yeah. And you're right. Misogyny aside, Hitchcock does write his women very well. They're all complex, well-rounded, strong characters,
Look at
each and every
Marion-
one of them.
Marion Crane
Yeah.
in Psycho.
Absolutely.
She's a wonderful character. Although, yes, she does die. Spoiler. If you haven't seen the shower scene, you'll see it.
What have you been doing in your life?
The first scene in this movie is the shower scene, which is fantastic. And and it's just this wonderful thing where in the original film, the camera pans up through the from the toilet or from Marion through the room to the toilet to the window, and you hear blood, mother, blood. What have you done?
Yeah.
But you actually see it go from black and white to colour.
Yeah, pans to the house and it switches from black and white to colour seamlessly.
And it's like
incredible.
the most perfect way of saying that was then, this is now.
Yep.
And
not a word is spoken.
I actually think Psycho 2 is like, you know how much I love Halloween 2, Friday the 13th Part 2. I think it's in number 2 films. I think it's actually probably the best number 2.
I'd have to agree. I would actually say it is as good as the original.
Sometimes I prefer it.
Yeah. As an exploration of Norman Bates as a character, it is probably better than the original. The original had other elements to it that made it glorious that aren't in this movie, and vice versa. But Richard Franklin absolutely knocked it out of the park, and Tom Holland. The script is riveting.
It's a flawless script.
It is a flawless script.
There's only one falter, and that is like the biggest spoiler of the end. So I'm not going to say anything about that because I don't want to give it away. I'm not 100% sold on that last scene in the film, the second to last scene. Not 100% happy with the reveals and everything like that.
Why is that?
It sort of like, it sort of changes. It's really hard not to spoil this. It tarnishes the original in a different way.
See, I didn't think so. And when we're not going to go into spoilers, because if we go into spoilers, it will literally ruin the movie. The spoilers are an integral part of the plot. So you just have to go and see this.
I'll
movie.
change my mind right this second. It's flawless.
Yeah,
it's flawless.
It is, and the ending is a shocker, and
it's done really well though.
It does
oh my Lord.
Somewhat change the original movie, but at the same time it doesn't. It's very hard to describe without giving things away, but it kind of
it informs the original.
Yeah, it informs the original. It opens up ideas and things that we didn't know before,
and it gives you like
it gives you a different perspective.
And it really shines a light on the insidiousness of abuse.
Yeah,
abuse is an insidious act, and what Norman has gone through.
Yeah,
for no fault of his own.
Yeah.
Norman is a blameless character in a way because he has been manipulated and made psycho by his mother.
Yeah.
And in the original book by Robert Bloch, Norman was Norman was basically Toomey.
Yeah.
Right? And we wouldn't have had any sympathy at all if Norman was like that.
Yeah.
But because Norman was a gentle, loving character who genuinely cared for people, he hesitates at one point. He'd like to get a room for Mary. he hesitates and puts his hand up to key number 1.
Yeah.
And you just see him go and go straight down to room 14.
Yeah.
And it's just like, or room 7 or whatever
Yeah.
it was. And it's just like, you know that like, no, I'm not going back to where I was. Yeah. I have fought to get where I am now.
And the battle with his psychosis is ever present throughout the entire film. The nuance of Anthony Perkins' performance in this movie is absolutely astounding.
He should have had an Academy Award nomination.
You feel everything that he's going through, every struggle, every moment of confusion, of regret. It's excellent. And the cinematography in this movie is fantastic as well.
There's reason for this, guys.
Yeah, like Psycho sort of had its very insular moments where it drew you in and made you claustrophobic in moments. This movie does the same thing. And
it isolates you.
It does. It isolates you, and you are made to follow the characters in their journey, and the tension ramps up to 11 consequently.
Yeah. And
the reconstruction of the Bates house, the set design in this movie is fantastic. It's like we never left. Everything is exactly where it should be.
The fruit salad, we actually get a better look at. The thing I love about this is it does what a good sequel does, is it gives you the original setting, but gives you a different perspective, and it lets you explore it more.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I didn't realize a fruit cellar was that big in the original film. It's the same, like the same schematics. They actually use the same blueprints in the house, and but it looks so much bigger. Yeah. It reminds me of the catacombs in Immaculate.
Yeah, and the inside of Mother's room as well.
Oh my God, that is a beautiful room.
Yeah, and even just the top of the hallway, learning, where Norman's room is in proximity to his mother's.
And where the kitchen is.
And where the kitchen is. And just the reveal of how that alone would have played out for him as a kid with an abusive mother.
It would have scared the crap out of you.
Yeah,
and
it's
one of the best
amazing
shots I've ever seen in a movie. Stayed with me. I mean, I've never been able to tell you this because you hadn't seen the film.
Yeah.
But it's when Norman is looking at the door and he thinks Mother is talking to him through the door, and you see the doorknob, and you see Norman as a little child in the reflection of the doorknob, but it's Norman as an adult looking at the room.
Yeah.
And that little child is played
by Osgood Perkins, his actual son.
Who is, without doubt, probably the best film director out at the moment.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen Longlegs, we will do a review of Longlegs very soon.
Jesus, what a film.
Go see it.
Praise Osgood.
Yeah.
Because it is
Clearly he's taken after his father in more ways than one.
He is really...
And good for him.
He is really a master of horror. And I think, I mean, as a child, imagine being, 8? We're about the same age, 8 or 9 years old, or maybe even younger, on the set of Psycho 2 and seeing Richard Franklin try and recreate that and seeing his dad as Norman Bates. I mean, the guy is set up for life being a horror director.
I'd love to interview him about it. I think it'd be fascinating.
I mean, I would not go into any details about his dad's private life or anything like that.
No, just more about the movie making
because
side of
his
things.
dad was a complex human being, and God bless him. I really feel like he got the shaft. He really got raked over the coals so much just for who he was.
Yeah.
And shame on you, Hollywood, for not giving this man his dues.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
absolute incredible talent.
This is like if they awarded Academy Awards for actors who should have won posthumously, this guy should have gotten an award for not only Psycho 1, but for Psycho 2. I think he's better in Psycho 2.
Yeah, I agree. It's a masterclass in
nuance
and psychosis and trauma, PTSD, all of those things.
And you can read, if you really want to, you can read into Anthony's private life and struggles that he was going through.
Yeah.
And you could see how that would inform how he would come towards the character.
Yeah, definitely.
And just a confused beautiful, horrible
Yeah.
soul.
What would you give this movie out of 10?
10.
10, definitely.
10. It's a 10
Yeah.
out of 10.
Yeah. I mean, I had pretty high expectations because I had
It's Psycho
been
too.
told it was a really good sequel, but I thought, there's no way you can top the original. And I was gobsmacked, honestly. I was riveted from start to finish. And if you haven't seen this movie, go. If you love the first one, you will love this movie.
It's almost like if we were reviewing this in 1982, 83, we'd be like, run to the cinema.
Yeah, run, go.
Like
take all
bolt.
your friends.
Bolt. Actually, no, I wouldn't take anyone. I'd only take you. I would not want to see this with a group of people that could possibly mock it.
Ruin it, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
This is a
Only take people who are
film fan.
film fans.
Or like cinephiles, because even if you think the original isn't that great, this film shows you how you take a kernel of an idea and just go with it. I mean, cinematography is by my favourite cinematographer, Dean Cundy, who did Halloween. He did Back to the Future, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is my favourite for a bloody good reason. And his cameraman, who stuck with him for decades, was Ray Stella.
Yeah.
And Ray Stella was a cinematographer on a certain TV show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Here you go.
So this is why everything looks good.
Yeah. So when the credits rolled for this movie, I was like, oh, no. Just every name that came up, I was like, oh, my God. The people they hired for this movie. This
Jerry
is going
Goldsmith.
to be... Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean,
It's the best of the best in every single department. And it shows.
Yeah. This is out in 4K.
Yeah. Buy it. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, we shall say goodnight.
And if you're near a swamp, don't drink the water, but stay hydrated.
And remember, leggings and not pants. Not in any time period.
Not even in the 60s.
No.
Or the 80s.
Mm-mm. They wanted to in the 80s.
They did in the 80s.
But I still say no.
Yeah. Just say no.
Good night.